Welcome to Vin and Mike, episode 80.
What's
Welcome
up, Vin?
Mike.
Happy Friday. Welcome back. You're on a little hiatus there.
We were. I was out in sunny Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, where you were burning up.
100 degrees every day.
I know.
Beautiful thing out there. What else going on? You're good?
Good. It's just good to talk to you today after the NBA draft. These crazy trades. It's been nonstop.
I know.
Watching, and also on the other side of it in football, watching Aaron Rodgers throw those practice throws in slow mo. Getting excited. Couple months.
Josh Allen saying he's the best thrower he's ever seen in his life. So, Josh praising him already. And then Pat Mahomes ready to beat up Jamar Chase. All the fun stuff going on in the NFL.
That AFC is going to be something this year.
It is. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. But let's do some official business, and then let's bring in our buddy Matt Carl to talk a little NBA. So KKFI, Kansas City. How are you guys out there? What's going on, KKFI? Little Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, wild stuff. Gonna have some fights on the field this year against the Bengals. All right. And then go to our website, vinandmikepodcast.com. Over there is our store. Buy a shirt, buy a cup, a mug, some stickers, stick them on your car, stick them on your kids' laptops, whatever you got to do. All that fun stuff. It's all over there. We appreciate the amount of people that have been buying stuff.
Yeah.
And the charity that we're able to donate and all this stuff. So it's been really cool. So thank you, everybody. All right, let's see. Matt Carl, are you there?
I am here. How are you?
Doing well. All right, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
Mike is on the other side of the glass, as they say. You know how that works.
Yeah, I'd say it's good to see you, but it's probably it's probably better I keep my face off.
Okay, sounds good. We don't want to scare our audience. We get it.
Yeah, as our audience, Matt's been on the show before, huge Celtics fan. So let's get right into this, Matt. One night you're just in such a good mood, eating your dinner, drinking your drink, have Celtics pride. Then you hear about this trade. What is your first thoughts?
I went to bed thinking that we flipped Malcolm Brogdon into Kristaps Porzingis in a first-round draft pick. I woke up and it was Marcus Smart, and my knee-jerk reaction was I wasn't happy. This is kind of a battle between my head and my heart. I think is kind of the best way to put it. Marcus Smart is the lifeblood of the Boston Celtics team. He is the heart and soul. He is that player that you need on a championship team to just do whatever it takes. You tell him to run through a wall, he'll run through a wall. It hurt. The more I've thought about it since yesterday morning, and gone for some long walks to commiserate, I'm starting to think I like this trade. While we don't necessarily have, I don't trust Malcolm Brogdon as our everyday point guard. He's injured quite a bit. We saw him in the playoffs with a bum shoulder. Couldn't even shoot up a three-pointer. Hopefully that gets remedied. And Kristaps Porzingis is the same. There's no doubt he's always hurt. And the thing I'm going to say, and I think that this will probably draw the disdain of a lot of Knicks fans because, to a certain extent, you all have PTSD from the Kristaps Porzingis era, that you got some great draft picks. If we get Kristaps Porzingis, who plays 65 games and puts up 22 points, this is an absolute steal. Not to mention we got a first-round draft pick next year out of this. I think, and just even thinking about this one step further, this is the timeline where a player like Marcus Smart starts to deteriorate a little bit. He'll be going on to his 10th year. He's played all 9 years as a Celtic, but going on to his 10th year, the guy is just, he will dive, he will, leap into the crowd. He is, constantly on the ground. He's guarding bigger guys. He is just, he is unreal. So right now, I'm going to say I don't dislike this trade. This 100% to me is, it's a win for the Celtics if Kristaps Porzingis plays even 60 games in the regular season, but he's healthy in the playoffs. I think that this is a win.
Do you look at it as the trade that's going to put you over the hump to beat Miami, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and then Denver? I mean, does this trade say that to you, or do you think this is just a patchwork and there's got to be more to be done?
Something needed. There's just been something. There's something missing from this team in the playoffs. And it was clear they needed to do something. I don't know exactly what happened with Brogdon, and if this was just a knee-jerk reaction of we needed to do something. They really had a big vision for KP. If Kristaps Porzingis is our number 3 option, and we get Grant Williams, and we still have some great players coming off the bench, I don't see anyone beating us in the playoffs. And I know I said that this year. We ran into a buzzsaw that's Jimmy Butler. The thing that we're going to have to wait and see is, hypothetically, what's going to happen in Portland, if Lillard comes east, although we've been hearing that for 4 years. As of now, I think that Kristaps Porzingis playing 60 games in a season, and if he's healthy in the playoffs, we're a better team. The biggest area of struggle would be scoring in the fourth quarter. I mean, we had such huge droughts, and I know a lot of that was just them, their strategy of chucking up threes. But the other interesting thing that I read about Kristaps Porzingis is there was not a single player on the Boston Celtics this year that had 100 post-ups.
Huh.
Jason Tatum it was 95 or 96. He was the closest. KP had 230.
Got it.
So just that dimension to our offense where we don't just need to go in and chuck up a 3. And you add slashers like, we have Brown and Tatum who can slash to the hoop with a guy, with a guy who can post up. I don't even know that we necessarily need a true point guard when KP can distribute. Horford, to me, is just a guy who's like a point guard at center. And the offense is always going to run through Jaylen Brown and Tatum. My only hope is that we actually get some coaching next year and we don't have someone out there who just says, I let them call their own plays all the time.
Yeah. Couple things, Matt. So, I think someone that really has to step up next year is Pritchard as a back. I think a lot of emphasis is going to be on him now with this trade. And then you said it best, Matt, with KP. I mean, there's been some signs of good play. Also, he's very prone to injury. In my case, as you said, I'm biased as a Knicks fan, the whining, but sometimes changing teams really helps somebody. And if you can get those 60 games and he puts in the 20-point games along with, a compliment to Tatum, who knows what could happen. I think it's early to tell, but I understand your initial reaction was disappointed. You had asked me, it's like if a Josh Hart or a Jalen Brunson were traded, when you have such chemistry on a team and you let someone the heart of the team go, where do you really go from there?
Right. And I don't know if we bought high on him, but I also think that, again, he had the best season of arguably the best season of his career last year. I think he was 23 and a half, 8.5 rebounds, 1.5 blocks. He had 4 assists a game. And the thing that I think that will prevent him from being, so susceptible to injuries is he's legitimately our third option. And I know that he played with Luka for 1 year in Dallas, but he was hurt most of the year. But he's coming into a situation where he doesn't need to do too much, and we in my eyes, we have the best number 3 player. Again, the best number 3 option in the league. It's interesting when I saw Bradley Beal going to Phoenix, I was thinking, wow, what a great trade. And then the more you look at it, you're saying, okay, so who else are they going to actually be able to afford? When I initially saw this trade, I hated it. And then the more I started thinking about it and getting less emotional about the outcome, I'm really starting to like it. I think it was, we're definitely taking a swing, but I think that this could really pay off, especially when you see us disappear in all those games in the fourth quarter and not be able to put the bucket in the hoop.
Yeah.
I will tell you, when I look at these trades and I see that Washington got Marcus Smart and Jordan Poole, I like that backcourt for them now. I think it's a nice little backcourt they put together with this these trades.
Marcus Smart went to Memphis, which I think is going to be really interesting.
Oh, he went to Memphis.
Yeah, so playing alongside at some point Morant. Just in terms of, you now add, they're a borderline contender. They did trade Tyus Jones, who showed a lot of signs of life, but, just thinking of that team now with this gritty veteran who's absolutely clutch, who will do whatever it takes to win, and that to me is going to be a really interesting dynamic for next year, is to see what that, how that backcourt shapes out. Assuming Morant, again, comes back as himself from the suspension.
I wonder if they made that trade because of Marcus Smart's, off the court character.
Leadership.
Yeah. Somebody to guide him.
Yeah.
He's out. I mean, Morant's out 25 games, right? That was the suspension.
Yes, 25 game suspension.
Yeah, so I'm guessing Smart will run the point until he's back, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing with the Celtics that I'd like to see is us get a guard, someone who is at least of the level in between Brogdon and Pritchard. I mean, I wouldn't expect Brogdon to play more than 50 games, 45, 50 games this year. He's just always hurt. And it's a little bit scary thinking that you're going to throw Peyton Pritchard out there to start, 25, 30 games. It's, we need to make another move for, a veteran point guard. I was hoping that Chris Paul would have gotten cut and he would have been the perfect answer, but I'd say that was definitely me being greedy, hoping for that to happen. But, there's got to be one more move done to get someone at the point.
Well, they drafted the guy from Houston last night, right? Sasser.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm guessing that's probably where they're going to go also.
Yeah.
I would think that's I don't know.
But again, we moved up 10 spots in this draft. We got a first rounder, we got KP, and we gave up Marcus Smart. I mean, it's, if you think about it sort of, emotion aside, I think it's a really good trade.
Okay. Matt, you mentioned Chris Paul. Now he's joining forces with Steph Curry. What do you think is going to happen with this? I think the Golden State Warriors want to make one last run at it. Is this the right move? Are they going to have the right chemistry?
To me, Chris Paul can play anywhere. He's just that kind of unselfish player. He can fit into any system. I have to imagine he's going to come off the bench. I can't imagine, seeing him run the floor with Steph and obviously then there's that 2-point guard situation, but I'm interested to see how they use him, just because they have been, traditionally a run the floor, fast break team. And, as someone who'll be 41 in a couple days, it's like you think about him trying to, keep up with these guys. The most interesting part of that trade for me is going to be to see what Jordan Poole does now that he'll be in an opportunity, now that he'll be in a situation where he can, get some serious minutes and, has the opportunity to kind of call his shots and do his own thing. He's someone who, and again, watching him, he was one of the biggest parts of why the Celtics lost in the finals. I think it's going to, he's been a little bit stunted just because there's so many great players around him. Now that he's in a position where he has the opportunity to get more minutes, and again, there's going to be expectations of him to do a bit more from a scoring perspective. I think he's the most intriguing one out of that deal. Chris Paul will be Chris Paul wherever he goes. I want to see Jordan Poole.
Do you think they moved Poole because of the fight with Draymond Green, and they want to re-sign Draymond as a free agent, and the only way he would come back is if they got rid of Poole?
I feel like that whole situation had cooled. What would be – I don't know the details of Chris Paul's contract, if it's been restructured, how that fits against the cap. I was just having a conversation with someone. I don't know how they would sign Draymond Green if Chris Paul's contract is as is, and they have Clay's max and they have Steph's max, and they have a pretty strong core of players who, while not incredibly highly compensated, I would assume have contracts, anywhere between and $10 million a year. I'd have to look at the cap numbers for that, but I think that if it is something they have the cap space, I would have to believe that it's addition by subtraction for them with getting rid of Jordan Poole to keep Draymond for one last run.
Yeah, Matt, there was a kind of a lack of energy here last night because the Knicks did not have a draft pick, and you and I talk often. But I know we're on other sides. We're on other sides here. You Celtics, me Knicks. But to our audience, what do you think of the Knicks season, and what would you like them to do if you were general manager right now?
They were absolutely awesome last year, and I know we talked a lot about Jalen Brunson when the Knicks got him, and I've loved him. I loved watching him in Dallas. I loved watching him almost get to the NBA Finals. He did it in 2 series. He is a borderline superstar. I think it's going to be interesting, to see if he has another gear in him. The Knicks, in my opinion, need to stand pat. There's not a player who would be available for the cost. If we think about who's available, most of it's going to be via trade. You'll have Lillard. You'll have via free agency. There's Kyle Kuzma and Kyrie. But via trade, you're talking Zach LaVine and I do not see, unless they were able to pull a package that was clearly advantageous for them to get Zach LaVine. I don't see why they would do it. I would not want Lillard just simply because I think it would, you'd be giving up a ton and it would stunt what Brunson was brought over to do. I just don't see them, complementing each other so well since they're both players who, need the ball in their hand. Zach LaVine to me would be the option from an offseason standpoint if there was someone that you're going, to go after, assuming the price is right, for him. I think his 3-point range, his athleticism, his ability to run the floor, they all complement that team. And, he's been someone who's been pretty consistent from a playing standpoint, minutes and, games played standpoint the last few years. But, to me, he's the only one out there. Otherwise, I think, you stay pat. You bet on Jalen Brunson continuing to get better now that he's had a full season as a starter. You hope Barrett has a bounce back season. What you're going to get from Randall, season in, season out. I think, he's definitely a safe bet. So, and then, you never know with some of these young guys, you have so much young depth that, any of these guys at any point can make a leap.
Yeah.
Unless it's LaVine, I think you stand pat and, and again, try to equal the magic of this year and bide your time. Next year, if nothing happens, then, I think that's when you try to make a splash. But I just can't see, trying to get Kyrie or, there's 0 point in that when you have Brunson, but, getting someone like Kuzma, everyone's going to be after him. His price is going to be so inflated since he's one of the only free agents of merit. But I think you stay the course, try to develop the guys that you have.
Yeah, it's just one other. A lot of people were asking me, Mike, what do you think? What are your thoughts on Julius Randle? And I told Vinny this the other day that people forget, and that's the whole key word, forget, because Julius Randle had a great regular season. He did. He complimented Brunson so well. There were a lot of games where he really played a huge part. Unfortunately, in the playoffs, it was missing, and that's what people remember, right? So it sounds like because of his contract and where he is, you're right. He's probably going to probably things are going to stand still. He's going to have another opportunity to really shine. But this is a team now that getting to the first round of the playoffs was so important to them. But now there's going to be more expectations. So I think this team is so talented. And what I saw this year with Josh Hart coming in, I don't think people expected what he was going to do. But it will be very interesting when I'm not saying if, when they get to the playoffs again, because they will, what Julius Randle is going to do, how his game's going to change, what's going to happen this year. So they made huge strides.
I think that there's no harm in staying the course. I absolutely agree with you. They are a playoff team, again today. I just don't know that there's a player out there. You have a great young foundation. I don't know that there's a player out there that for the cost is going to give you, enough of a short-term incentive in order to put you in that upper echelon with Boston and Milwaukee. And again, I'll put Miami out there too, simply because, Jimmy Butler has become my favorite player in the league, even though he just kills us every time. I just love watching him play. And their team, they may not have the regular season record, but you don't want to play them in the playoffs if Jimmy Butler's healthy.
Yeah, he and he developed a 3-point game during the playoffs. guy decided to shoot threes, like in the playoffs, and actually make them too, and like some of the clutchest spots that I saw. I tell you, one guy that I like that I think would be a nice role player for the Knicks or for a lot of teams is Bruce Brown, especially the way I watched him play with the Nuggets and all the little things that he did there. And when he was with the Nets, I always liked him too. So that to me, that's one of the kind of guys that I think he'll be affordable. I think you can slot him in for 20, 25 minutes and he can play basically the 1, 2, or 3 and come off the bench and really help that second team with the Knicks. That's one of the guys I'm looking at. I'm looking at people like that.
Don't look at Bruce Brown's Instagram is what I'll say. He recently posted a black screen with 3 smiley faces, just tagging his location as Boston, Massachusetts.
It's a good spot. It's a good spot.
But I completely agree with you. He's not a guy that's going to put you over the top, but he's a great depth piece. And again, one of these players that you just love on your team in terms of his effort. He does so many things above. He's not amazing at anything, but he does so many things above average, and he's got a championship. So he knows now what it takes to win. He's been around the team, and that is always invaluable. Yeah,
it's the one thing I like about the Heat, right? Like they have Jimmy Butler and they have Bam, and then Kyle Lowry, is the super veteran, but then they got all those undrafted guys around them, and then Harrow's coming back this year, so that's the way I would build my team. If you're not going to get the 3 big stars or the 2 like huge stars, I would build it the way Miami does. Get you 1 big star, get a really good second player. Bam is just about star level, but he's in all, he's right there. And then just fill in the blanks with all these kind of guys. I think that's the best way to build a team if you can't get the really big players.
Right. So, and again, even with the Knicks, it's you have to imagine one of these players is going to make a leap. They're just loaded with top talent that do, again, they have so many great complementary pieces. I can't imagine that one of these players is not going to take that next step and really step up. And again, then there's still Barrett. He fell off in such a hard way, and then had some great moments in the playoffs. It's like
sure did.
You need him to get back to 2 years ago.
I just want him to take the ball to the hole like he does, because he has a great first step. He gets there and he can finish. I think he sometimes just sits out there behind the 3-point line, just
relying on that outside shot.
I want to see him like just go, take it and just dunk it, because he's got some guts too. He's got the ability to do it. I just want to see him do it more, but we'll see. I'm still hoping that they trade Randall for Karl Anthony Towns, but that's just me.
That'd be great. I've heard that they're getting Karl Anthony Towns as well as Okafor and Jaylen Brown. So that'd be like not Okafor, Embiid and Jaylen Brown. So that'd be quite the big 3.
There you go. That's the only 3 guys we have. We traded everyone else away.
Exactly. You'll be like the Phoenix Suns.
I tell you, I look at Kevin Durant, and I know he's a superstar. I know he's a Hall of Famer and everything, but I think every time I think about his net career and his opportunity that he had out in Phoenix this year, and now what they're doing again in Phoenix if they fail. That even though he was a big piece of that Golden State run, it almost makes it like, oh, maybe he needed Steph Curry in order to accomplish that. I think it's a big year for him in terms of his legacy. Yeah.
Agreed.
And, I always hear people going, "Oh, you got to win championships, to be a great player." I don't believe that. I believe championships are all about legacy. There's a lot of great players in the history of sports that have not won a championship, but like I always say to Mike, those legends, those superstars have championships, and they have multiple championships, and that's why we put them at a much higher level than everyone else.
Yeah. Matt, just on a side note, because Celtics, I was just thinking about superstars. Did you see the Bill Walton 30 for 30?
I have not. I need to watch it.
Okay, please do. And for our audience, check it out. Just a great story about him and how he persevered with so many injuries. It was a shame, but what I think you would really appreciate is when he was traded to the Celtics in that 85-86 season, and just how he got along with his teammates and what he accomplished and what he did. So definitely check it out, everybody. It was really good.
Well done. Bone left in his feet.
I know.
So
he's had some unbelievable injuries. That guy. He even had a terrible back when he was broadcasting, that he had to have major back surgery. So, all right, you staying around, Matt, for a little bit, or you got to jump? What are you doing?
I'm gonna jump. I have to a couple more things for work, but I really love you guys having me on, and always appreciate talking to both of you and your audience.
Yeah, no, we don't know. We pretend we know something about the Celtics, but we don't, and we're happy to have you on to get your feelings on it and what what the next step you think is for them. So we appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thank you both.
All right, Matt.
All right, thanks, Matt.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye now. Matt Carr, ladies and gentlemen.
That was some interesting stuff there about the Celtics. Yeah. I didn't want to, burst his bubble, but this Porzingis guy is just, a fragile piece of glass. We know that.
He says I'm biased because I'm a Knicks fan.
I don't know.
But that's the KP that I saw, and that's the KP that was in Dallas. I really followed too much.
There's a KP that's been everywhere, and like you said, Mike, he's like the world's against him, and he's trying to.
Well, this is his now.
I don't know.
Maybe he'll step up.
He's gonna have to. Is he gonna play? So let's look at it. Right? Will he play 60 games for the Celtics next year? What do you think?
What's the over under?
It's probably 55.
I bet they have that.
I don't know. Hold on. Let me.
So wait, look at his stats. I want to
look at his years of.
Let's do this. Let's be analytical.
By the way, he's only 27. I don't know if you knew that. He's been in the league forever, and he's only 27. All right. So he has played his first year with the Knicks. He played 72, then 66. Then he went to 48. Then he had the ACL injury, and that's when they offed him out to Dallas, remember? Yeah. And then in Dallas, he played 57, 43, 51, 34. Then he went to Washington. He played 17 and finally came back this year and played 65 games.
Wait, how many years has he been in the league already?
He started when he was 20. So it's
I was just one. Man, it's crazy how fast it went.
8 years.
Damn. I didn't even realize. I mean, I realized that it just went so quick.
Yeah. The 17 and 34 in Dallas were the same season. That was 51 total. Yeah. So, and this year he played 65. So the last 4 seasons, 57, 43, 51, 65. But we know the 65 this year, they shut him down at the end of the season, right? Like he didn't play.
No, he didn't really play.
No. So, and he averaged, like Matt said, he averaged 23 points a game this year. That's his biggest scoring average.
Right.
And 8 rebounds. For a guy that's 7'3", I mean, you would hope he could get more than 8 rebounds a game, but that's a whole other issue. Right? So he's was supposed to be with Wemby is supposed to be, right? Big guy, could shoot a 3, take the ball to the hole, play all this defense and all this stuff. Probably not as high as a prospect as Wemby, but same caliber of kind of guy that maybe Boston's hoping for. I don't know.
Don't worry, because Wemba's going to take all the attention.
Oh my God, that guy. It'll be very interesting. I was watching a little bit of the draft last night, and I don't know a lot of these guys. A lot of them play overseas now. A lot of them play in all these different leagues. A lot of them aren't just straight from college anymore. So you don't, unless you're really deep into the waters with all this stuff, you don't know a lot of these guys like you used to. But watching this guy over in France at a high elite French league, man, he looked amazing. The highlights and everything and all the stuff. And Jay Bilas talking about how he's a 6'2" shooting guard in a 7'5" body.
It's amazing.
So we'll wait and see. San Antonio is very happy this morning. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah.
That's all they were talking about on the local news out there. I tuned in just to see real quick.
Yeah.
I like to do that once in a while just to see how these different cities react to these sports moments. So, been watching any of those Mets, huh? Have been watching?
I didn't want to bring that up to Matt.
Oh.
Sore subject.
Wow.
Just think about how much money went into paying those pitchers. Just the injuries and it's been a disaster.
Yeah. No, it's
I don't know.
$86 million in 2 starters, and not even a 500 team at this point.
Wow. They're 6 games under 500.
They got to get some more hitting from these guys that they're paying.
Oh.
And then the other pitchers, they're paying the other pitchers a lot of money too. Carrasco's making money. What's his name that's hurt? Quintana, he's making money.
I know.
I don't know. Everybody's saying, they got to trade for Ohtani. The Angels aren't trading Ohtani. Yeah. The Angels are in the wild card. If anything, the Angels are going to want Pete Alonso from the Mets instead of the opposite way, right?
Yeah, a crazy stat I just read that they're one of the most expensive teams. Now they're giving them a 14% chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's crazy with all that money. Gave up 10 runs the other night.
I know. They pitched terrible. Their bullpen is terrible. That's one of the big issues when I watched them.
Yeah.
Is their bullpen. And not for nothing. Our Yankees don't give me any warm and fuzzy feeling.
No, the Yankees are not much better, but the Mets pitching has been inefficient. It's been awful. Awful.
They have, let's see.
Look at the rotation.
They have $43 million in Scherzer, $43 million in Verlander, $32 million in Lindor, $19.5 million in Marte, $8 in Nimmo.
Yeah. Just think about this with their pitching. Justin Verlander is 40. Scherzer, 38. Carrasco, I think he's right there. I think he's like in his mid to late 30s, right?
36.
So
36.
It's a big problem. You're paying these guys huge money.
Yeah.
And your rotation, I don't know.
Carrasco's $14 million at 36. Quintana's 34. He's on the injured list, $13 million. Edwin Diaz, as we know, $17 million. They're paying guys that aren't going to play this year millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Millions, like upper millions. But the big thing for them is definitely a Verlander Scherzer thing. Like they really need to flip the switch and really continue getting better every single outing. They've been pitching better than early in the season, but it's got to really continue. And they got to give them length of innings because, Adam Ottavino and Dave Robertson and, those guys don't give you warm and fuzzies in some big moments here. And they're not young guys either.
Yeah. And they're also playing from behind too often. You notice that?
You do that a lot.
They're always playing from behind.
Yeah, they do that a lot. Yeah. I tell you, when I saw that I think it was I think they have 1 or 2 losses when they take the lead. Something like that. It's like some crazy number. Yeah. So they're playing from behind every single game, basically.
Yeah.
So it's nuts. And then last night I flipped over real quick watching the Yankees.
Right.
And seeing Stanton and Donaldson, who are both batting like 100. I mean, how can you be a major league starting third baseman and batting 128, and then booting the ball all over the place? It was just like horrific.
No, they're mediocre.
That's my God. I mean, we got
still plenty of season.
Oh my God, June swoon.
And they still don't have a timeline for Aaron Judge, and everything's all over the place.
I'll tell you some positive stuff, bud. Rodon is pitching. He's getting healthy. His arm strength's building up, so he's going to probably be in the rotation in July. Garrett Cole is 8-1 with an ERA below 3. He's been solid all season. He's one of the top 3 pitches in the American League this year. So those are some of the positives. We need Herman. Herman has been horrific these last 2 starts. I don't know. Hopefully Severino can figure it out. Hopefully Cortez gets healthy again and gets going. And the bullpen is good. It's solid. But you're right. We need Aaron Judge back. I know they say, it's too much pressure on the team, and too much pressure on Judge. It's like, well, you guys aren't hitting. It's a proven fact. He's not in the lineup. You don't hit, you don't win, you don't score. He's in the lineup. You hit, you win, and you score. I mean, besides Rizzo and I'd say Gleyber Torres, there's not another guy in that lineup that can hit. LeMahieu's done.
Right.
Volpe's just, he's just too young right now.
Well, but let me ask you something. Why don't you think they're calling up Peraza? If you're not getting the hitting that you need, why not call up Peraza and make a change?
I'm guessing they feel Volpe's going to turn around. They're going to give him time.
I want to give Volpe, but it's just you got to eventually make some moves. Get some spark in the lineup.
Eventually, they're going to get to 100 games, right?
Okay.
And they got to be in the playoffs. But I think the thing when you feel even if this team makes the playoffs in this current condition, you have no confidence that they're going to go to the World Series. That's the thing, right? This isn't the Knicks where we're happy they're in the playoffs. We're happy they won a first round.
The expectation.
And then everything else is gravy from there.
Right.
The expectations for the Yankees is win a World Series. It's been that way forever. Since George took over the team, that's all he ever wanted to do. Somebody said the other day about, I don't know with what George would have done with Boone and Cashman. I said, what he would have done with Boone and Cashman, he would have taken Hal and fired him too for not firing Boone and Cashman. That's what George would have done. You know what I mean? It's like this is not George Steinbrenner's way of doing things. They look at it much more analytical in a business sense. And for Yankee fans, for us, we don't want to hear it. Even Met fans don't want to hear it. Met fans were ecstatic that Cohen spent all that money and continues to want to make the team better and do everything he can to win a World Series. That's what we want to hear. What they're doing,
that's a very good point.
Mets are just underachieving, and the Yankees just don't have enough. They just don't have enough offense. You can't have Billy McKinney. You'd think he's going to bat 300 all year, or Bowers, or Harrison Bader's a good player, but he's always hurt too. Another guy is always on the injured list. Stanton, forget about. I can't anymore with him. Can't trade him. You can't do nothing with him. Batting 104 since he's come back on the injured list. 104.
Vinny, I think that we got to put you in.
Oh my God, me? I could bat 104.
I think you could.
They could pay me. What does he make? 30 million. I'll take 3 million.
Exactly. 10%.
No problem. 90% discount. I'll do the same thing. Do I have the same exit velocity to hit a 115-mile-an-hour ball into foul territory? Nope. But I'll give you.
I'll be your ball boy for 300,000.
That's right. I'll listen. I'll go up there and I'll bunt and I'll hustle down that first baseline and try to get there. That first baseman gets in my way. I'll knock him over. There you go. There's a 3 million. Oh man, it's just crazy. So, all right. Let me feel how you feeling about, these highlights all over the news of Rogers going woo and wee.
I think it's real. I know. I watched the slow-mo videos of him throwing it to saw it. It was great.
I tell you, they're pumped up around here for your Jets.
You know what? There's a total transformation of when this was all going on, including myself. I always will admit to things that and it's still until he plays, we don't know. But all the stuff going back and forth about, Rodgers doesn't want to play with rookies or first, second year players. Does he really want to be a Jet? Well, there's no doubt in my mind now that he does. He's been to every New York event.
Yeah.
I think the players have a lot of respect for him. You could feel an energy there that was not there the last couple of years. So there's a lot of expectation. But we all know that the beginning of the season, you said it, Vinny, the first 6 games are extremely difficult. Yep. You open up against the Bills, you got the Cowboys in there. I think you got the Patriots. I think you got a lot of difficult teams in there.
It's funny to look at it, right? Like you look at those 6 games, and let's just say the Jets were a 12-win team last year. They're still difficult games, right? And so you're coming in, with Rodgers, and you want to be a 12-win team this year, and those first 6 games are really what it's about.
So you even said if they could go 3-3, I'm okay with that.
I think that's a win. You got to go. It's at Kansas City and at Philadelphia, right? I think they're both road games against the Super Bowl champion and the Super Bowl loser, right? I mean, the 2 best teams in the league last year. You got to play on the road in the first 6 games, and both teams probably got better.
But one thing we got to do is we got to watch that Vegas Jets game together.
Oh, I don't know. I might be 0.
You might throw me into a wall.
Week 0-8, I might be. I don't even know what week it is. I forgot.
Oh man!
I just want to win. I just want to get that first win in the first 2 games. Like one of those first 2 games, just win. Get to 1-0, 1-1, whatever it is, and just that's just like such a relief to win one of your first 2 games, especially because once you go 0-2. You automatically feel as a fan that 0-2 is like that start of this awful season. Like we're just gonna slide from here. We're gonna go from 0-2 to being like 1-6 by the time
it's mentally you feel it. It's funny that you mentioned that because I was talking to our friend Evan who was on the show, and we were talking about the famous Jets Cleveland game week 2 where I went to, and they won on that offside kick. And he's like, Mike, 98% of the people are not going to remember that. It was regular season. It was game 2, but you're going to remember that because you were there. And again, that's, at that time, it was such a momentum kick for the Jets who needed that. That was a huge win for them.
Yeah. Yeah. It propelled them, right? You ended up, you were like 4-2, 5-2.
We were, I think at one time, we were 4-2. And then the one thing I just remember, and I don't want to remember, is when it all turned around, that Patriots game. And just
the punt return, right?
It was like a dagger. Yeah. And that play right there just went.
And that was it,
That was it.
As it Zach was awful from like then on.
Well, that's the thing. Listen, he's a young kid, but it was his press conference, it was his demeanor that people just did not like, because Saleh is a player's coach. He wants to see his people succeed. I think he was in Wilson's corner, but after that press conference, it was so hard to get behind him, right? That's it.
You have to listen. The one thing about NFL quarterbacks is you have to be the face of the team. You have to take ownership for everything that happens on that field.
Yeah.
Did you feel bad that you didn't do, all the things you should have done for the defense? And the answer should have been, didn't have to be yes or no. You should have said, I needed to play a lot better. The rest of my team really excelled out there, and I need to play better. That's not a yes or no. It's essentially yes, you feel bad for the defense. But when you just go no, and that's your only answer, dude, you didn't do anything to help the defense. Come on. Be a good teammate. Be the face of the franchise. Now you're going to sit behind Aaron Rodgers here probably for a year or two, and you might have your opportunity after that. Honestly, I don't think so. I think they're going to get rid of him somewhere in these next 2 years, and then you hope, like you said, Mike, you hope this little window Rodgers does something, and the miracle Super Bowl comes in, and then you don't care who you draft as a quarterback the next.
Oh man, Vinny, I hope you're right.
Yeah.
Do
you feel that tears of joy would be flowing down your cheeks?
I probably would.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been my life.
An emotional thing for people.
It's an emotional thing for people in their sports teams.
It really is.
Yeah. Like, I'll tell you something. The Knicks in the playoffs this year, the Garden being electric like that, it's just a different kind of feeling. If the Jets were to make the playoffs, especially if they were to win 11 or 12 games, somehow get a home game, which I don't even know the last time that happened, right?
Yeah.
Just being able to watch that, oh man, I would have chills. Yeah, that'd be awesome. We'll see. Time will tell.
Very cool.
All right.
Very cool. So, all right. What else?
That's it. On a little serious note, I wanted to dedicate this episode to a good friend of mine who passed away a couple weeks ago. Good friend from high school, Pete Cavalluzzo. Pete was instrumental part of my life during that time. As all high school kids we all played video games and just have a lot of good memories of being in my friend's basement. We're playing NFL. Of course, it's all sports games, NFL Blitz and NBA games. He drove this huge Oldsmobile. We called it the boat. It was like a boat. Just driving around in it. A lot of good times. We were all passing pictures around. So, Pete, this one's for you, man. You will be missed. We had nothing but good times, and we'll never forget it. So that's all I could say.
Yeah, condolences to his family. Condolences to you. I know it was a tough time for you there. So my condolences. I just want to make sure that when July 3rd starts, that you're going to watch Wimbledon. That's all. You
want me to watch that tennis?
I want you to get into Djokovic this year as he goes for the what is that called? The Grand Slam of tennis in a single season, where you win every single major in a calendar year. So
you know what I
should be pumped up for.
Yeah, you know when I got into tennis. He'll laugh at this. I was a little kid, and Jimmy Connors was in the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
And he was like the old guy, right? But he's not really old. He was in his 30s, whatever, late 30s.
Yeah, which is old for tennis.
Which is old for tennis. And I was watching on the TV. We were down the shore and watching this guy play and just putting everything he got into it. And then I just wanted to watch tennis. And at that time, you had John McEnroe. You had Pete Sampras. You had, of course, Jimmy Connors, who we just talked about. Boris Becker. Who else? Who else, Vinny, during that time? Yvonne Lengel. Michael Chang, was it? Michael Chang?
Agassi and Sampras later.
So watching all that was great.
Yeah,
and then on the women's side, you had
Martina
Navratilova, Jennifer. What was her name? Jennifer
Capriati.
Yeah.
Chris Everett and Martina Navratilova. That's what you had.
But it was great.
Those ladies, man. I think they played in like every singles like finals. By the way, Venus Williams is going to play in this Wimbledon. I don't think she'll get out of the first round, but she's going to play. I think she's like 40. I want to say she's 43, 42, 43, Venus, something like that. So, yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming up. Summer's here. Before we know it, we'll be in hot and deep with Major League Baseball, pennant chase. September rolls in. The NFL starts. The Knicks start brewing up again. And before you know it, in a few months, we're in June. So July, August, about 3 months. Actually, 2.5. Actually, June 23rd. So maybe 2.5, we'll say. All that'll be going on. And the show will be extremely pumped up this year.
Oh, yeah.
As we start, this is episode 80. We're preparing for a big 100th episode. Me and Mike have been talking about it for 3 months now.
It's gonna be a little secret.
Yeah, we just can't. We can make up a episode just to get to 100, but we're doing it right. Guys, let me hear your secret.
No, I said we're gonna keep episode 100 a secret.
Oh yeah. Well, until we have
until we get close.
Place, maybe somewhere around 95, 96 that we start, telling people what we want to do, and then there we go.
All right, Vin. Been good seeing you. Welcome back.
It was good seeing you too, sir. All right, we're done?
We are done.
Oh, I didn't write my script. I forgot to write a script.
Save it for next week. We'll just have another one.
I wanted to write a nice little commercial script.
Can we do it next week?
Next week. I'll do it next week.
All right. Be ready.
Remind me.
I will. I will remind you.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week.
See you next time. Bye-bye.